Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me this week, it's my co-host. It's Tom. How you doing, Tom?
Hello, friends.
Happy Thanksgiving, Tom.
Happy holidays. Are we there yet? Can I say that?
Yeah, sure. Sure, absolutely, man. Yes, I mean, basically from here on out, it's all good now. It's just the holiday season. We're in it. You can't fight it anymore. You holiday haters. Christmas haters, people complaining about Christmas music. I worked in a retail store for 10 years. I was subjected to Christmas music for like 2 months straight. You know what? I still love it. So there you go. That's what I think. But at any rate, this is our annual. Tom, did you know this is our 4th annual Thanksgiving Spectacular? Isn't that ridiculous?
It's hard to believe. That means that next year will be our 5-year anniversary.
Yeah, that's correct. It's not that far away. A couple months away.
Yep. It hurts my brain. It happens to also hurt my wife's brain.
Well, I'm glad she puts up with it. Look, it'll be my 5-year anniversary. You'll have to wait like another 3 weeks, I think, basically.
Sure.
Then you can catch up. Yeah, you get docked credit when you aren't there. That's all I'm saying.
Sure.
So at any rate, this is our Thanksgiving show. This is where we take a pause. We look back over everything that's happened in the year. We talk about, we need a cool name for this segment. Besides that, we need like a thanks or janks, something that rhymes. I don't know what rhymes with thanks.
Janks. Wow. That's bold. It's a bold move.
Thanky or janky. There you go. That's what it's called now. That's what it is. The segment is called Thanky or Janky.
Our once per year segment where we look back on the year. Indeed. Yep.
Because as we get to the end of the year, we're going to obviously do our ring-a-ding-ding, I'll predict a thing show where we talk about what's happening in 2019. So this is where we pause and give thanks for all the great stuff this year. And certainly this has been probably the most amazing year since the game launched, realistically. But we'll get into all that.
Yeah.
I think that's true.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of a year that's been better output, better content, better quality than this year, but we'll talk about it.
Sure. First up, we've got some news. There's not a lot, but there's a little bit.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the rumor engine that's just a picture of GWHQ put into a miniature?
Sure. Probably a GW Collector's Edition item, I'm guessing, for like Warhammer World, retrospective or something.
Yeah,
is that right?
Sure. Who knows? It has a grid pattern on it. So here, I'll bring up the image. Sorry. I have it here. Give me just a moment.
Is it like a do you think it is a
yes.
I'm thinking. Do you think it's like the
there you go. So this is like literally it is the exact image you can get of Warhammer World and Games Workshop HQ if you look at it in Google Maps. Like if you look at it on Google Earth or whatever. This is what you see. Exactly. The little spot that says Warhammer World will hit right here.
I don't know.
Or Games Workshop headquarters. This will say Warhammer World. This is the main building. This is
sure.
Offices.
But what I'm saying is I don't even know what this is. I don't know where this is going.
Well, you can see the little grid pattern that's very light because it isn't huge.
But
right? Because this is a pretty thin line. No, I don't think so. This is like it's like a radar pattern. Right, is what they're meaning to capture with this. Think of like the grid pattern that shows on like a radar. Okay. Right, that's what this is meant to do, meant to replicate. Now, obviously, it's not a radar because you have something physically solid on here. But
so is it like a targeting screen?
Maybe it's clearly some kind of battle plan. By the way, this is just somebody coming in the front gate and the people from Warhammer World filing out to meet them. That's what this is because this is the front door. Basically, coming one out of them. This is the side door. This is the front door.
Back door?
No, because there's a door over here and a door down here and here.
Yes. Yeah.
This is all this. It looks like, you know what it is?
What is
this? Is actually so there's like a patio. There's like an outdoor patio at Warhammer World that's Bugman's, right?
Yep.
People who live in Nottingham will be like, yeah, we all know this. We go there all the time. Yep. But for people who don't live in that city in Middle England, there's like a patio outside of Bugman's, which is really nice. It's a small little patio. Yep. And Bugman's is like right here in the
Sure.
building, right?
Yep.
So like clearly
This
what's
is the
happening
assault
here
on Bugman's.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, exactly. This is just saying like, come in here, get some sweet food, right? You come in here in the parking lot, then you come in and get some food. That's what it's saying.
Cool. I'm in.
Yeah, clearly it's going to be a 40K jokey, like it's going to be a fun little, probably limited edition release thing, would be my
It'll
guess.
be a thing.
Or it'll be like a terrain piece where they hid something in it. Like they hid the scraper in the workshop.
Sure.
This is just them putting a lampshade on that. And
Yeah.
and by the way, I'm all for this kind of stuff. Like, please keep this sort of stuff up.
It's super classy. Like it's a
great.
fun
Little Easter eggs like this are so much fun. And they hurt nothing. They take away from nothing. And they just are a fun little thing that they can put in the models. I love when they do little stuff like that. So keep it up.
Stay classy, GW.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. I saw our buddy Eric there in the chat said he hopes it's a Mighty Empire style add-on. It could be. It doesn't feel like that kind of thing, but it feels more like an intentionally designed thing rather than more of a generic thing you can add on. But we'll see.
That would be awesome.
Okay. So what do we got next? There's the rumor engine. I sincerely doubt that's going to be for AOS. That's all I'll say. Whatever it is.
You don't think that we're going to have radars in AOS? Is that what you're saying?
I don't. I'm saying that technology can advance some, but I feel like it's probably not going to advance to radar level.
Awesome.
Did you just spill your entire desk over?
No. Because the computer is still on it and everything's fine. No, I have a box. So whenever I'm assembling things, I have a box that I like scrape into.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that I put on my lap as I work.
Okay.
And so it is.
I just wear an apron, but sure, that's good.
Sure, but there's like, because as I'm like removing like mold line stuff, there's like all these like curls of like sprue.
Sure, standard stuff.
And I had like a pound of it in a box that was on my lap. That is now on the ground. So that's what that was.
It's gonna be fun to clean up. That's good.
And I can like feel it in my toes, like in between like little sprue shavings, and it's terrible.
Well, if you wore boots, you wouldn't have this problem.
It's true. It's true. So that happened. Anyways,
very nice. On with the show. That's gonna be a fun mess to clean up. So, next up, we got two Honest Wargamer related pieces of news that I think are pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Rob was on the show last week, and he launched out the workbook, which I hope everybody went and took a look at. His workbook to help everybody think more deeply about their army, the Socratic Method workbook. And the full website launches tomorrow. I will say I got to see a little sneak preview of it, and it's amazing. Yep. It's absolutely stunning. He did such a good job. He and his team.
Yeah.
He had people who were working with him, obviously. And it's going to be fantastic. I can't wait.
Probably get that army guide done.
Probably. I turned mine in like last week. Yeah. You may want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So for those curious, there will be lists from, many people on there as he discussed. And this isn't just what I love about this. And I went and looked at some of it. Is it's not just like, here's a list. What do you think? Okay.
Right.
That is not what this is. This is like it was a heck of an exercise to write this. I think I only wrote like 3,000 or 4,000 words, something like that.
Yeah. But it's like a whole strategy guide and approach and the whole deal. Yeah.
How you use your units, how they work, how you set up, what your strong matchups are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, the whole SWOT analysis. Like it's detailed. And so I think it's awesome for people who really want to get into an army and understand something, especially if you're looking at a new force or looking at a new list. So it's going to be great. Yeah. I'm very excited.
What it does is it articulates, like, for some of us that have just like thoroughly like inhaled AOS. I mean, I guess that's the best way to describe it. Like, I can often look at a list and see how things function. I'll look at it. Okay, I know I know what this is going to do. I know the combos. But what it does is it puts into writing what some of us have kind of internalized. And it forces those of us that have internalized that to externalize it by creating these lists for people.
Absolutely. Yeah. What list are you doing, by the way?
I'm probably going to do my the variant of my dwarf list. Not the one that not the one I sent you.
Yeah, I know which one you mean.
I'm probably going to surprise Akon with that. No, my
your dwarf classic.
My dwarf classic, like what I ran at Akon last year, like a variant of that for AOS 2 that I took the local tournament with recently.
Yeah, nice. I did my Iron Jaws list. I ran all last year.
Oh
so
yeah, it's good.
It's solid. So I will link out to the Honest Wargamer below and put up the Twitter, because when it goes live, he's going to be announcing it across platforms, and it'll go live tomorrow. My guess is probably when many of us are haven't woken up yet on Thanksgiving morning, because I think he plans to take it live like, early-ish or middle-ish in the day, which is 5 hours ahead. So there you go.
Yep.
But I don't know exactly when. So
but then
just
we also
watch and he'll say. Yep. I saw his tweet like 20 minutes ago that said, like, I'm very excited for everybody to see it tomorrow. He didn't say a time, so there you go.
Like, yes, we didn't spoil, but yes, it is tomorrow.
I'm only saying this because I know he already said it publicly. Yes, right. I don't want to. It's not my job to spoil it. I just want to draw attention to it.
We're leaking stuff about Rob's Honest Wargamer.
Wouldn't that be just like the most mean thing to do? Yeah, to take his thunder.
Surprise, everybody. Exclusive for our viewers. No, just joking. And then we have the Crimbo coverage coming as well.
Yeah, they're gonna do full Crimbo coverage all weekend, announcements, like mid segments. This is gonna be like we're stepping up to like Sunday Night Football here, right? Like he's going all in, like the full press coverage, games, in cutaway segments, like it's the whole deal. So it's
gonna be so amazing.
I'm excited.
Looking forward to this.
Yeah. Should be good. So I think he's going to set a new bar. If you're interested in watching some great AOS and great tournament happen, check it out. I would also like to shout out Daka Des in our comments right now, who is doing the 12 days of Christmas and has translated it to Skaven and is doing the 12 days of Ratmus and is literally counting down the whole thing, like 5 Doom Rockets, 4 Brass Orbs, 3 Warp Fires burning, 2 Giant Rats, and a Steam Tank and a Humi, like is what he's up to. So by the time he's done, I can't wait. We're gonna see what's going here. So
that's fantastic.
Other news stuff. What else we got?
Other news. Akon signups went live this weekend.
Surprise
for those who didn't know.
How did you not know? 1, 2. Okay. Relian is exempted from my comments that I'm about to make because he had an extremely legitimate excuse.
Right.
All right. And and somebody tripped into that trap already. Okay.
Right.
So,
well, no, to be clear, Relian and I believe both had an excuse, and we
were at the grocery.
No, I was doing things for my 4-year-old's birthday, which was on Sunday.
Whatever, man. It's your 4-year-old. She doesn't know the difference of exact time. Okay.
She has a really good idea. Thank you. My 4-year-old turned 4, or my child turned 4, one of them, on Sunday. And so I was like, you know what? It'll be an hour after signups, but I'm still going to get signups today. Well, apparently an hour is too long for Adepticon.
Yes, because as you should have known, things sell out regularly in 20 minutes.
Yeah, but that's like painting classes, not the AOS events.
You should have read the writing on the wall when CanCon went to like 160, 180, 200, 220. The snowball is rolling, my friend. Like, slight aside, I've never seen a more across the board fail of the Twitterati and to fail at something. It was amazing. My Twitter immediately filled up with like people who I was just like, how did you all not know? It's the most tapped in people. Okay. Like I said, this does not count Relian, who had like legitimately that sucks, man. And so whatever, I'm not going to go into that. But anyways, for the rest of you, okay, for like David Griffin and Kale and all these people, I'm just like watching like Tyler Emerson and like just boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom. My Twitter feed of all of the AOS people who make content of any kind just fills up with like, oh man, I'm on the wait list. I missed it. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? You're the most tapped in people, or you should be. And everybody just sat on their hands. And now Alex has to like has to scramble to get these extra spots. And you know what? He's done a great job. I've seen a lot of people already got in, so that's great. He's added a bunch of spaces to everything. But the bright side of the story, all joking aside, okay, is this is it is an incredible sign of where the game is at right now, right? Because within an hour, things were gone. That was it. Like Vanguard teams and the GT were like, that's done. Now, what I'll say is that the wait list matters. I hope everybody got on the wait list because so the way Adepticon does stuff, and Alex and tweeted about this, is that they're not going to give you all the space right away, right? They don't just max everything out and say, okay, here you get. Like they have a bunch of games they're trying to fit into this limited space, right? And they want to make sure they make the best use of it. So they say like, okay, this is how much do you think you can go? This is the number we'll give you. And then if you suddenly fill up that fast and you have a big wait list, they have this extra space and they'll go, okay, we'll move some of that to you. Now there's a limit, obviously, right? There's just like, it's a physical building. They can only do so much. I know Alex is like absolutely going to bat to get as much space as possible.
I mean, I know that I know where we're at. So here's I know where we're at, and I know previously what our max numbers were above and beyond the signups. But it looks like a lot of events maxed out, and so what was previously promised, I think, may be under debate. And so I say that to say that I know a lot of things are up in the air. Like I said, I signed up 75 minutes maybe after it went live on the wait list, and I'm still on the wait list. For the GT.
For the GT, yeah. You're in for the teams and for the Vanguard, and you're still waiting on your GT.
I'm in for the teams because my responsible teammate.
Because your partner is actually responsible, yes.
Yes. Rob actually bought our ticket. So thank you, Rob, again. But I didn't need to do that. And then Vanguard, I got in off of the waitlist on Vanguard, but I'm still waiting on the champion.
We'll hope you get in. But I mean, if not, you can hang out with me and be my assistant as I teach all my paint classes. You can be my lovely assistant.
I will go home. That's probably what will happen.
Or you could hang out with everybody, play some pickup games, and have a great time at one of the best times we get to hang out with everybody. One of the 2 times, basically, you get to do it in the year.
I'm pretty bitter.
Jeez. You are a child. Yes, I agree.
It is. I am a big child.
So, but at any rate, I know that they're working a lot of people.
Hold on. So somebody had asked about the wait list. So this is how the wait list works. For right now, the wait list works that whatever order you signed up in, as spots become available, they will send you an email to ask if you want to be added, if you want to be added to the new spots.
And you have to just real quick here. We should answer how you get on the wait list. When you go and register, there's a choice. You can choose to add an event, even if it's full. And if you do so, instead of saying add to my card or what registration or whatever, add registration, it'll say add to wait list. So you do that. It doesn't charge you at that moment. It just it's a free thing to do. And so you should absolutely do it because again, they're going to decide some extra space based on demand, right? For obvious reasons, like Adepticon wants to give out the space to the people who will use it. It's a pretty simple thing. So, we can all show our demand. And there you
go. So for right now, they're going down the list. They're emailing people on the list and then adding them to the expanded kind of roster. The catch with this, though, is that if they hit their maximum size and you are still on the wait list, what that means is that the day of the event, you have to wait in line the morning of to find out who does not show up. And it doesn't matter if you're signed up on the wait list in the system. You have to actually wait physically in line the day of. So if you don't get in,
let me say there's still a second flashpoint here that we haven't reached yet. Okay. Which is refund day. Okay. You can still and I don't know how this works with the wait list. So if somebody knows, please put it in the comments. But what I will say is right now, what you buy, you can still get a refund on for Adepticon. Okay. I think the last day you can get a refund is January 1st or December 31st. It's like the end of the year, basically.
Right.
And then you lock in. You could not show up, but you ain't getting your money back. Right. It's basically what happens. And so that's what you're talking about. So I don't know if people, and it happens, people cancel, right? It just, life changes, things get in the way. So I don't know what that'll look like as far as As far as like how those then get used, because I would imagine you just keep going down the wait list, but I don't know. I don't know how much visibility the TOs have into those dropped tickets. So that's a great question.
Right. And so like I just know from prior years, because like my first year I got in based on the wait list. Like the first year I played, I didn't sign up and I just kind of showed up at Acon to hang out, and at the last minute decided to play. But I was on the wait list in that first in like 2 years ago when I played. And then last year there's a line that for the no shows the morning of, you can stand in line to try to get in on the wait list. But yeah, the good news is that it's huge. AOS is booming. So this is all good news.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. This is going to be a huge event. And I'm the reality is, like I said, I've seen a lot of people get in. I know Aurelian got in. I know Sigmar and Son just mentioned that they got in. I saw it. I saw the Twitter then going basically that night, the next day, that some people are starting to roll. You know, it's rolling through as they have these discussions. So, like, you know, if you're on the wait list, good. Be patient. You know, there's a lot going on in Alex's life right now. The TO for Adepticon, just as a slight aside, he's kind of about to have a kid. So you know, it's got some things. But I know he's going to the match.
He just needs to get used to the chaos.
Well, you know, there you are. I'm sure you have plenty of experience on that. But at any rate, it is a super healthy sign. So cool. Yeah. I very much look forward to it. I wasn't on the wait list for anything, so yay for me, because I can't play. So because I'm teaching.
Exactly right. Yeah. You don't get to have fun. Sorry, Vince.
That's okay. I certainly get to have fun. I get to paint judge this year, so that's going to be very exciting.
That doesn't sound like fun to me.
It's very fun. I actually very much enjoy it. I look forward to so I'm going to be paint judging for hopefully. So
joke's on you. You're not going to get to judge me. Ha ha ha.
Well, I'll be judging all 3 events.
You wouldn't be judging me anyways. But
yeah, I mean, it's not just me, obviously.
Right.
There's more people than that.
Yes. I'm pretty sure that like they're not going to have you judge me. So.
Well, one, that's fine. Of course, I have no issue with that. If Alex feels there's ever a conflict of interest, I would completely understand. And 2, I'm absolutely positive I can judge you objectively, Tom. I do it every single day. It wouldn't stop the day of Adepticon. If anything, the concern would be I would be way more harsh on you, because I already have seen all the flaws in your painting and in your art.
And you're like, this bullshit. He just he did nothing here. Do you see this? He did no work in blending here. It's an illusion, folks. That's what you would have said. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. I did not know that. Apparently, Andrea is also helping paint judge, so that's great.
Oh,
good.
Nice.
Yeah, I know there's like a pretty good group of people doing it this year, and I am excited for it. I wanted to help out Alex. I felt like I didn't get to help out at all because I don't get to play, and so I was excited at the opportunity to volunteer and pitch in this year. So I look forward to joining the team. The real key is I want to make sure that, especially when we get toward the best appearance and the GT and that kind of stuff, so when we talk about best painted, I want to make sure that I spend time with everybody who makes the cut and give them, you know, feedback as to why they are where they are. Okay?
Sure.
It's a big deal for me. I am a big fan of judges' feedback in painting competitions. I bother judges all the time because I want to know how to improve, and so I feel it's my mission to make sure I make myself available as well. So there you go.
Sure.
Okay. So yeah, that's that one. By the by, we got a little Wrath and Rapture spoiler today.
Oh,
how about that? Moving on from Adepticon, we have this Illusory Demon box set we've been waiting on. Yeah. And today we got confirmation basically that the pre-order is like coming very soon.
Okay? It did come before the end of the year, as predicted.
Because, and the way we got it was in the Sneaky Deaky Hammerhall Herald spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
I assume you saw the Hammerhall Herald spoiler?
No, I didn't.
All right. Well, let me bring that up for you, Tom, so you can see exactly how we know it's coming. So obviously the Wrath and Rapture is our Khorne and Slaanesh box set that I'm pretty excited for. And yeah, Somebody actually said to me today in a chat I was having, well, I would get it, but I don't know who would take the Slaanesh half of my box set. And I was like, I'm insulted. I'm deeply insulted. So here we go. This was the Hammerhall Herald for today. The myth of the thrice-headed houndy has been dispelled, and it's this little joke, right, about how, and every time Hammerhall Herald tells you something doesn't exist, that just tells you the product's about to happen in 2 or 3 weeks. If you remember, we got the same thing for beasts, right? Of like all these things not real. Yeah. And then and obviously not only do you have this little picture here, but we have our very important shadow, and that shadow should look familiar to you because that is, of course, the shadow of Karanak, the three-headed dog leader, who is in the art. So
sorry. Every time I think about the fact of Karnak and his army of bloodthirsters.
Yeah, dude, it's so good. Karnak is your ultimate general. He can bring his own dog reinforcements. He's great. He is the Lassie of Khorne. He leads people to where the blood flows. So obviously I'm excited for that.
Could you say he is a bloodhound?
I would say he's a bloodhound, yeah. Absolutely. Blood-hound.
Yes.
So that's gonna be great. I'll tell you right now, man, I want to see that freaking herald, right? Like that is what I'm excited for. That harp having.
I don't know.
herald.
Like I'm kind of excited about a new Karnak. Like
yeah, he's such an outdated model, and the new dogs look so crisp and great.
Yep.
So
it's gonna be sharp.
Yeah, I'll probably give away everything in the Khorne half of the box set except the dogs. I'm keeping all the dogs.
You're ridiculous.
So I love them dogs, man. What can I say? Hashtag release the hounds. That's right. I was literally about to say it. It popped up the chat. So wonderful.
We've trained our viewers well.
Well, it's no, I would like to think that we've tapped into a groundswell, right? Everybody out there believes as we do. Like that's what people want. And I agree. So anything, I think that's all our news. Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right, man. It's pick of the week time then, buddy. What would you like to share with everybody? By the way, while Tom is thinking, it's not the pick of the week, but it will be below. I'll link all the Honest Wargamer stuff we mentioned down below, so you'll be able to see that.
The Adepticon sign up.
That's your pick of the week?
Sure. Because if you haven't signed up, everything's sold out. Sorry. But you can at least go get waitlisted.
First of all, the 3 Age of Sigmar events are currently full. Sure. But there's still a lot more. Okay.
Sure. Yes. Like there's Crystal Brush, and
all of the hobby related things.
Yeah, but like those sign up, those are all full though, aren't they?
No, there's still classes with space left. Absolutely.
Do you have any classes with space left?
No. I do not. But that shouldn't be the yardstick. There are.
If all of your stuff's filled up, then come on.
There's really good painters there who still have some spots open in their stuff, and that's not a question of that. It's just honestly, it's a question of this. Okay.
Sure.
Here's why some really amazing painters still have some spots left, because a lot of really great painters are doing really long seminars this year. Okay. Yeah. They're doing like 4, 5, or 6 hour seminars that carry a heftier price tag, but also which is, I still think, worth it. But I mean, I signed up for one of them, and the challenge is that those don't sell as fast just because not everybody has 4 or 5 hours they can dedicate to it. Right. But if you've got the time, I mean, there are so few better ways, and you're interested in improving your hobby. There are so few better ways that you could do it than spending that much time in a small group with one of the best painters in the world. And that's who's here.
Are you doing another late night Saturday night one?
Yes, I am teaching. Well, I'm teaching late on Saturday night.
Ridiculous.
I'm teaching from 10:30 to midnight or something on Saturday night. So
the worst. Anyways,
I look forward to hanging out with everybody late. We'll go to the bar afterward. That's fine. It'll be a fun time if you're in my class. That's where I go. Anyways. It's still open, and they still have those delicious little mini corn dogs, I am excited for those just thinking about them right now. I don't drink, but I do get out on mini corn dogs. So I've got my vices just like everybody else. There you go. Check them out, folks. That's the real hot tip for your Adepticon experience. Mini corn dogs. All right. My pick of the week is not mini corn dogs, but you should order them. My pick of the week is from our buddy Doom and Darkness, who has a nice recap of a little 4-game tourney he played. It was a smaller pointed tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And so he got 4 games in a day. And he was playing his Gutbusters for some fun. Walks you through all 4 games. And what I enjoy about it and why I'm recommending it is because it is a living example of why giants are terrible and need to be fixed. Okay?
Sure.
I can't handle it. I just like watching. He plays a giant, right? Because he wants to have a fun time with a giant. And don't we all love giants? Giants are silly fun, right? Who doesn't love a giant?
Sure. Yep.
They're great. And then the first time he goes to charge somebody 4 inches away and rolls doubles and fails. First time. The first and second time he charged with the giants, he rolls doubles and fails the charge. Both of which were like 3 or 4 inch charges.
Well, the good news is that we have command points that we can re-roll those now.
If you have a hero nearby, sure, and you have the command points, because Gutbusters pack all those battalions that really let you do that. And by the way, nothing feels better than burning a precious resource like a command point on a 3-inch charge that you certainly rolled on dice enough to succeed on, but because of the janky rule around giants falling over, you failed the charge. What a wonderful rule that is.
You can just not run giants.
You could, yeah, and that's what most people are doing, which is a shame because it's one of the coolest, most versatile, most awesome kits with some actually fun rules. But it's just frustrating. It's frustration on a 105 mil base or whatever size he's on. That's all it is.
Sure.
Just get rid of that drunken thing when he charges, or change it so he doesn't fail the charge. Like do the mortal wounds because he trips and kicks somebody. Awesome. Like that's funny. Still, he can kick one of your own people because he's just running and stepping on them. I would be okay with that. That's cool. It just doesn't stop me from having fun with my toy. Like that's there you go. All right, I'm done. That's my giant ran over. But it's 4 good games. You get to see Gutbusters. And I always like it when Doom plays his ogres because he clearly loves them, and it is fun to watch those boys smash stuff up. So, yeah. All right.
Okay.
So that's picks day week.
Mm-hmm.
So Tom, what are you working on, man? You're cutting and scraping something. What's on your desk there, brother?
Just doing some kill team stuff. Kill team train. Decided that. Yeah, I want to work on some of that. So I have some daughter stuff that I really probably ought to do, but the whole Acon debacle this weekend, yeah, put that back on hold for me. So I'm gonna wait another week and then eventually get back to those daughters. So
this is my Lisai for you, Tom.
Yeah, okay. I'm okay with that.
I'm not angry with you, Tom. I'm just disappointed. But no,
with that.
At least you're working on the terrain, which is always that's your happy place. Working on terrain. This is your stress relief. When you're stressed about other stuff, you just go and build terrain.
It's true. There is joy in this, in the tables that will be put together. Yes. I don't know why. So, as I've said before, when you paint an army, you get to play that army occasionally. But when you paint terrain, you get to play it every time you roll dice. Because you can put the terrain on the table.
Sure. No, that's fair. I am not working on terrain.
You're working on terrain. Come on.
I mean, I have a few times. Look, I did like 4 pieces of terrain recently. That was more than I'd done in the previous 4 years combined.
It's true. I'm kind of proud of you.
Thank you. People were asking what the debacle was. You can back up and watch the earlier part of the show, but the answer was just that a lot of people did not get in because the response was overwhelming, and Tom is currently on the wait list for the GT. So that was the thing. Many people ended up on the wait list.
I'm not the only one, but I am on the wait list.
Sure. For me, myself, I'm working on something fun, something different. I decided after I finished my Queen of the Deep mini, that Celestial mini, I wanted a fun change of pace and to paint something that I've never really gotten to paint before. So I decided to paint a Space Marine. And I've wanted to do an Imperial Fist Space Marine for a while. Yeah. And like I love the Imperial Fist color scheme, this sort of yellow color scheme, because it's really challenging to do and make it look, visually interesting and compelling. So this is like a modified 30th anniversary, like Primaris Lieutenant or whatever that they did. Yep. So this is him. I converted him up to have a little chain sword and a little plasma gun, pistol, something. I don't know. Doesn't matter. And he was just a fun chance to try a lot of new techniques, to play around with like some non-metallic styles and stuff like that. And I actually have super enjoyed this. Like, I completely get. I've painted some Space Marines before, but this is the first one that I've like paid this much attention to be honest. Yeah. And I completely get the catharsis and why people enjoy painting these things. There is something really perfected about the aesthetic of these things when you paint them, and like the way they all fit and shape together, the nature of like the plates and the edges and where their highlights sit and stuff like that. Like, it's just a really interestingly designed mini. So
and to acknowledge as well that like the new Primaris models are just
that's what this guy is, obviously.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like the new stuff that they've released with the new with the new edition is just it's sharp. Like it's like I built a bunch of Primaris stuff for Kill Team, and I was like, ooh, this is scary fun.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he's been a lot of fun, and I've just been working my way through him, taking inordinate amounts of time on every little detail, just to make sure the goal was kind of to paint like this is going to be a misnomer. Please don't take it that I actually mean this, but a perfect Space Marine, right? Yeah. Like to try to hit as close to perfect as I could, as I was capable of, to push it to the absolute limit on a relatively simple sculpt, right?
Yeah.
Because that's an interesting challenge. You're not fighting the sculpt in any way. Right. He's such a clean mini. So yeah, I really enjoyed him. And he's moving along. I'm just finishing up some last steps on him, mainly on his chainsword and stuff. But it's a fun chance to break out a lot of new techniques, to work on different non-metallic techniques and stuff like that. So there you go.
Awesome.
All right. So Tom, shall we proceed with the thanky or janky, as we're calling it now? That's the new name. That's our segment. Thanky or janky, as we look back over the year and we decide if we should be thankful or whether it was a jank release, as we look at the releases we've gotten this year. Now, we go back to last Thanksgiving in December. We didn't really have anything. So cool. We can skip that and get right into the beginning of the new year, where everything actually started. And at the beginning of the year, what we got was, in short order, we got 2 books. We'll just tackle both of these together, sort of. We can break them up. But we got Legions and Maggotkin, right? These were like on the heels of each other.
Like super back-to-back. Yeah.
Like within 3 weeks of each other, if I remember.
Right? I mean, like, technically, we had Maggotkin and then Malign portents and then Nagash, right?
I don't even remember the order of them.
Because Maggotkin was January, and then one of the Nagash, either Nagash or Malign portents, we got week 1, and then we got the other thing like 2 weeks later, like on my birthday. I can't hear you.
We got them both at the beginning of the year. That's because I sat on my mute button like a genius.
It's not me.
It wasn't you. Sorry. We got them both at the beginning of the year. Very close together, right? So let's just tackle these in order. Let's start with the one that I hate the most. We'll get it out of the way. Maggotkin of Nurgle. Yeah, that's right.
Sure.
My least favorite faction in the entire game, for reasons completely aesthetic and nothing to do with play. So we got our Maggotkin, right? That's what kicked off the year. We got a few new kits, as it were. We got our Puscoils, right? Our Lord of Blights. So what did you think of this release? Now you're a Nurgle enthusiast.
I am.
So was this a thanky or a janky for you?
Okay, let me qualify this.
Oh, I'm excited. Good. Anytime we got to wheel back like this. All right, go.
I love that GW gave them time and that they developed Nurgle. And it's weird and it's unique with the wheel, and I love like the tree. Like, I love that everything's going on. If you'll remember, if folks, if you go back and look at our reviews around this time, and like one of the shows that we did in January or February, I specifically actually called out that the new summoning mechanic is probably prepping the way for free summoning. Because it was so weird, especially with the Nurgle stuff. It was so weird that like it was just so unusable that I don't know why you would set a reinforcement points. And so like we kind of called it when we were talking about this in the Nagash book, because we were beginning to see a pattern of bad summoning.
Right. Of summoning that looked like it was designed to work with something that was free. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But so what I'll say is I'm glad they gave it attention, but it just felt like a miss to me with the new stuff. And what I mean by that is, like, you look at, like, of the new kits, we got a Guo with Rodigus, we got the Puscoils, and we got Beast of Nurgle.
And the Lord of Lights.
And the Lord of Blights.
The new foot guy.
Right, the new foot guy. One of those you see regularly on the table. And the other you see because a battalion requires it. The other two you don't see at all.
I don't know that I agree with that.
Okay. So we see a Guo.
I assume you're seeing Guos. Like, yeah, like we see plenty of Guos. They're everywhere.
Yeah, the Guos are everywhere.
Incredibly successful kit, both aesthetically and play-wise, right? Like people like it. It's useful. It shows up in a myriad number of lists.
Yep.
It shows up casually and in paint competitions. Like obviously,
right.
You know, so like it's a model you can do a lot with. I've seen incredible paint jobs on it. It's got a lot of variants, as everything Nurgle does. So that's it. Like no question, that was an absolute A+, right?
Yep.
I would argue the Puscoils and the Lord of Afflictions, because obviously, well, I'm just going to count those as one because that's all one.
Yeah,
box,
that's
right?
one kit, right?
I would argue that they're kind of exactly where I would want them to be. Like there are lists that use them. Certainly, there's a whole like Nurgle Air Force list, and the Lord of Afflictions himself is more popular than the Puscoils. Probably he shows up like frequently.
Yes, and I would acknowledge that. Like I would put him in lists. But the reality is that, like, even if you're talking about like competitive Nurgle or whatever, like I felt let down by the new releases, is what I would say. Like other than the Lord, because like even the Puscoils. So for example, if you want to buy a Puscoils box, you get 2 models in a box for $65.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
If you build the Lord of Afflictions, you can't do anything else with that other Puscoil.
Sure.
Because the units are in units of 2, and you don't have the bits to make everything you need.
Right.
For like, so you just end up like, it's just a bad feeling. Does that make sense? Like, like I look at my box on the shelf and I haven't opened it yet, and I'm just like, I don't even know what to do with it, because like, what it means that I have to basically completely kit bash from the bottom up a new Puscoil to match the one-off if I'm going to build the Lord of Afflictions, or I have to kit bash the Lord of Afflictions from the ground up. And
I don't think that's an issue. You know, the answer is one of your Puscoils.
It's a $65 box.
Yeah, I understand. The answer is one of your Puscoils is you just bespoke it enough to be special enough to be the Lord when you need the Lord, and he's a regular Puscoil when you're using Puscoils. If you're going to use that Air Force, you have multiple kits. Look, I'm not saying it's ideal. Okay, I'm just saying I don't think it's a deal breaker. By the way, thank you very much. We did forget 2 models. We forgot the Slobbity Biopiper and the and the Herald. All right. The other guy, Mr. List. And if we're going to talk about any failures out of this, right? Like I'm not counting the Puscoils. I think they're good.
Those were so forgettable that like
that neither of us remembered them until somebody mentioned in the comments. Yes, I agree.
Right.
That was the miss of the release. I think the Puscoils were fine. They're solid. There is a cohesive list that uses them. The Lord of Affliction shows up in lots of lists. Okay. Yeah. And that's where I would want them. I don't want auto includes, right? Where they show up across the board and become the most bent, broken thing.
Yeah, I don't even see that. Like, I don't know. I don't even, like, I'm enticed by them, but I still think they're overcosted for what they do.
Fair enough. Well, that could change.
Yeah.
Points are points, man. Those move every year, right?
But I say that to say that, like, none, like, of the Nurgle stuff, like, I have a Nurgle army I am the perfect audience for this new stuff, right?
Sure.
Like to buy and to fill out my ranks. And I looked at it and went, nah. Like I bought a box of Pescoils and I bought a Footlord, and that's it. Just so that I could run like the battalions.
Sure. To me, the actual miss, like the Lord of Blights, I agree, is just a tax, right? He's the tax man. You buy him for the Blight cyst.
Yeah.
Which turns your Blight Kings on, like up to 11, obviously.
Yep.
And he's just a tax you pay in that list. He doesn't do much of anything. Slobbity and the Screaming Herald, and then obviously the Feculent Narwhal. We didn't mention the tree yet, but I was just assuming the tree, right? Yeah. Because the tree is just it's your terrain piece that comes with it. Yeah. And lots of people bought trees.
It's your army tax.
Sure.
Like Sylvaneth and
Sure. Yep. The tree was fine. It was fun. Like it's gross. I can't handle it. But the tree is fine. It does what it's supposed to do.
My favorite is the people who have just bought like a Citadel Woods and just converted those 3 into
into those trees. Sure,
like
which is easy.
bells.
Yeah, that's a great trick. As long as you got the right base size, it's that's a footprint really is what I mean. That's fine. My sadness was that the 2 unique Demon Heralds weren't better. Because they were 2 of the coolest models that they've made in a long time. Like Slobbity and his like Screaming Herald buddy were just amazing models. And it's a shame not to see them on the table because they're like, we'll talk about this later, but I'm going to call them, they got low tanned. Okay. Because to me, low tan is the template of this. All right.
Yes. We're a beautiful model. I want to run him. And then I looked at his rules and I'm like,
this guy has no purpose.
I'm good.
Yeah. So we'll tackle him when we get there.
Sure.
Overall, I'm still calling the Nurgle release a thanky. It's not a janky to me.
Yeah. Okay. Like
if it has to break on one side. There's no middle ground here. This is the internet. Everything is either really good or really bad. Okay. And for me, it's 51% on thanky.
Okay. I'll give it 51%.
Okay.
Like it's a tentative thanky. Okay.
Sure.
Thanks.
I mean, it's good. People play it. It's certainly poked around plenty of top tables. There's actually multiple different ways to build the force that people have appreciated. It gave a fairly diverse army set. It gave us some really stellar new models. It gave us some that were great models that could add better rules. Like overall, it was a thanky. Could we have done better? Sure, but still a thanky.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So that's Maggotkin. All in all,
Nagash.
I'm happy that it didn't end up the most broken thing ever because I don't want to see it.
Sure.
I hate Nurgle, so there you go.
Sure.
Stay mildly popular. That's where I need you. Not overwhelmingly popular.
Sure.
Okay. So the Legions of Nagash, our first taste at a new style of army book, right? Yep. What would come to be known as the Legions treatment, where we take all these disparate factions and say, yeah, forget all that. We're bringing everything together under a new banner.
I love it. Oh my gosh.
We had no models with this release, right?
Okay. Yep.
0 model release. And I don't know that any release has ever been more impactful to an alliance than the Legions of Nagash book, right?
Yeah. Like, in my mind, this is the template for how to add and renovate current factions. Like, I just loved everything they did with the book. It gave you 4 basically ways to play within the Legions.
Yeah, sure. Like Grand Host, Legion of Sacrament, Blood, Knight.
Yep.
Sure.
And Soulblight. And a bunch of new items.
Count. That's not real.
A bunch of new items. And it gave a couple new War Scrolls. So it took current kits and just said, hey, here's some new War Scrolls. So go buy some kits. Like, go build a Prince Vordry. Go do a blood something thing. Blood Sisters. I don't know.
Yeah. The halfway between the Mortis Engine and the Coven Throne. Yes.
Which I love that. By the way, like, I love the rules on that. Like, I got to looking at that and I was like, man, why don't people run more of this? I love this thing.
Because there are just other things that are like really, really good.
I know. It makes me sad.
It's not a question of being bad. Well, it's just going to lead right to our thank you. Like I mean, the reality is, I think Legions of Nagash was a huge success, right? Because
it's so good.
It changed an entire faction. It gave, as you said, a lot of different ways to play. Now, I think we do tend to see some distillation of the lists, but it's not like there's just one.
Right. I mean, Terry Pike was the one that took the Sacrament, right?
There's people playing Sacrament. I think Knight is the one I see the least. I've seen people play and do well with Sacrament, Blood, and obviously the Grand Host.
I don't know. Sean did pretty well against you with Knight in that Thieves game.
Sure.
That long bomb charge from those Morghast.
Yeah, I mean, well, they make long bombs pretty easy. Oh, you do that when you roll 3d6. But like, yes, the reality is it was a super solid release for just a book, right?
Yeah. And like, I've never seen the reignition of so many armies, like with no models,
right?
Like that was just it was a fascinating kind of case study, and like what a well-written, engaging book can do for an army.
There was clearly a lot of people who were hungry for Nagash, right?
Indeed.
And it, like, there was a lot of people who had a lot of death armies sitting on shelves who were suddenly pretty empowered to get it back out. Solid thank you to me. I thought it was fun, and it's still with us. Obviously, it only got better. By the way, an interesting corollary here is it only got better in AOS 2. Like, as the year has gone on, death has only gotten better, right? Through things like the command ability and summoning changes, to the point where now it's like pushing the edges of like maybe too good in some ways, right? There's a little bit of that might need to be reined back in lightly, but a little bit.
Like, it's so good. I loved it. Like, it is one of the highlights of the year to me.
Sure. Which is understandable completely. All right. So that was Legions. Okay. Yep. And I think we're with solid thank you across the board.
Yep.
Next up, we had the banner release of the year, the release that set the entire tone, the release to end all releases for 2018. And that is the Daughters of Khaine. Okay. So we had our first preview of them, as we've mentioned 100 times in the show at LVO when we got the most awesome trailer video. Most awesome. We got, bunches of new kits, 2 different types of Khaine, 2 different types of snake ladies, Marathi herself, right? So just a wonderful release. We got no annoying terrain piece, which I was thrilled with. I don't like army terrain, so just like keep that out of here. Or if it is, just make it one simple thing. Like, I don't mind the herdstone because it's one simple thing; it doesn't multiply.
Yeah.
Sure. The ship doesn't bother me for Idoneth either for that same reason. It's like you have your ship, you set up your ship is there, or whatever. 2 ships, whatever happens.
The ship bothers me, but
the things like the woods and the trees, things that multiply out throughout the game, I'm just like, get them out of here. Anyway, okay, so. Outcome the Daughters. I mean, obviously this was a huge shift in a faction from being like a non-existent angle shooting army where you were like stacking dumb cauldron buffs, and even then like people were talking about it like Tom. We suddenly switch over and we get this huge, full, beautiful release with some of the most gorgeous models they've made in a long time. I still stand behind the fact that I think the Melusai and the Khaine and Marathi herself are some of the most elegant design they've done.
I would agree. And like, man, so for me, when I came, like, I was already debating on going Daughters of Khaine. Like, in the fall, like, rather than doing my Fire Slayer or KO list, like, originally the thought was to do a Daughters list before the renovation. And then with that renovation, I was like, I am all in. Now, it helped that I had an entire army on the shelf already of witch elves and like 3 cauldrons and everything else. So I was ready. But man, it was so good. So good. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, and I mean, as the year has gone on, speaking of armies that have gotten more and more powerful and might need to be reined in a little bit, we've talked about that during our daughter's show.
I don't know what
By the way,
about. They're perfectly balanced.
Sure they are. I mean, I play them, and I don't think that's the case. But again, I'm also not an overreactor. Like, I think in general, you want to be light touch with this stuff. I hope things like Tzeentch have taught us a lesson that, like, let's not just
KO.
And again, I don't count KO because it's this weird. KO is just this weird outlier, man. That's just like it was duffed from the beginning. It was built on a foundation of sand, right? So it was always going to sink into the swamp. Leave that to the side. That can be fixed in the future. Okay, it can all be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. But like, I want to see, light touch happen with this stuff, pushes, and I think that's where we're going. So I'm,
one can hope. One can hope. Like, I mean, we'll see. I really think that daughters could be fixed with like basically changes to 2 abilities, like almost no points, like maybe points up down the road, but largely like their current dominance, I think could literally turn on like FAQing / erotic like 2 abilities.
Sure,
and I think would be golden.
Yep, I agree. Those things are called Witch Brew and Blessing of Khaine.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's
exactly. I know. It's because those are the 2 problems.
Yep.
So yeah, some slight changes to those, and then like maybe 2 minor points adjustments, and bing bang boom, we're back in it. We're right where we should be.
Right.
But obviously it's a huge thank you. Like, this is, if there's an A+ for the year, it's this one. Right. I love everything about the daughters that happened. I'm willing to put out, like, obviously I don't play some 90 witch elf list. So if you end up playing my daughters, it's not that. It's snakes. Lots and lots of snakes. Because I love them snakes.
I like that there's 2 ways to play the army.
Probably more than that. Right?
Right.
But yes. Like, I would say there's more than 2. But yes, like, it does. There are breakdowns. Again, it's not a singular force.
Right.
Right. Like, right now, the sort of like Hagnar witch spam has kind of crowded out a lot of stuff. Witch/sister spam. But there are other competitive lists, and I have a feeling that in time we're going to see those come into the prominence, especially as those other things get hammered down some. So,
I mean, I may or may not have some ideas there. Sure.
Yeah. I also want to, I know Chuck is in the chat, and I also want to congratulate him on the recent 30 witch elves he picked up, bringing him to a grand total of 180 witch elves. So there you go.
And you know what the best / worst thing?
I'm ready.
They're all metal.
They're all metal. Yeah. They're all the old.
All 180. Every single one is metal.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nope. A whole lot of nope. I see chipping in your future, friend.
Sure. But at any rate, I've got to appreciate that level of dedication. The man has more witch elves than I have clan rats. That's not a small number of clan rats I have.
You could feasibly run them in a list with a bunch of hags. Like, you could run 180 and then run a couple hags.
Sure. I don't think that would be a good list, but it would be hilarious.
Yeah,
I mean, just think of it, just 6 times 300 it, right? And you get to 1,800 and back out the... Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so he could run 6 packs of 30 and then 6 hags. I love it. I love everything about it. It's all of them are battle shock.
Aren't you 20 points short on 6 hags?
No, because the 270 times 3 is going to net you 180. So 30.
You're right. Yep. Cool. Okay. Sorry, I was doing the math wrong in my head. Anywho, there you go. So yeah, I mean, a full thank you.
I want to run that list now.
Jesus. Well, tell Chuck to get it on the table. There you go. He's the only human being on the planet probably that can run that list.
180 battle shock immune. You know what's going to do a lot of work in that list? Martyr sacrifice. That's what's going to do a lot of work in that list.
Sure. All the prayers, because that's all you've got. You have no other spells, so it's just witch brew and pray and go. All right. So after daughters, when we got our Marathi murder elves, we then got our fish elves, right? Battletome fishmen, or fish elves, as it were, finally came into being, the long-awaited joke, in a form of sorts. And we got our Idoneth Deepkin, right? So here we have our eels and our turtles and our seahorse riding guys and shipwrecks and all this sort of stuff. Thralls. And when they were initially previewed, everybody was like, the Thralls are going to be the most broken thing ever. And then, as has been commented many times, everybody then looked and saw they were on 32 mil bases and was like, never mind, they're totally fair. Because that's everybody's the difference.
Like, nah, I'll pass.
Yeah, the difference between a 25 mil and a 30 mil. By the way, I don't think that's true. There's several people right now who are experimenting with Thrall lists. They're doing some really good work. I think that the challenge with Thralls and running them in the numbers that you need there is obviously that it takes a lot more time, right, than painting the eels. And so I think that's why we haven't seen as much of it. But I've seen a lot of gas in the engine of Thrall lists or mixed lists or something like that.
Sure.
So what are your thoughts on the Deepkin? What did you think of them? Obviously, neither of us went in on them. Didn't motivate either of us. I've said many times I think they're a Marmite army. You either love them or you hate them, right?
Yep.
And I stand behind that still to this day. But what's your feeling on them? What did you think at the time? How have you come to think about them now? They've obviously proven quite competitive. They show up like, if when I say competitive, if you look at the top 10s of a cross section of tournaments, if you look at LV's rankings, that kind of stuff, they show up, right? I don't think you have to be the top 3 to be called competitive, right? When you look at that upper section of like what tends to keep showing up in the top 10s, what tends to pull like 4 wins, right? What has a fairly high match win percentage, all these kinds of things. Idoneth do, perform pretty strongly across all those dimensions.
They do. So
what's your take on the ID right now?
Nope.
Okay.
That's my take on it.
These are the kind of deep insights that people come to our show for, Tom. You want to expand on that idea a little bit?
Nope. They have been a fail for me from the beginning.
Okay. Is that just for you, or are you going janky on this?
I think they're a Marmite army, and I think with all Marmite armies, you are inevitably going to have a large cross-section of the player base that just say nope to an army. And I think that's happened here. I think the mechanics themselves force a very predictable play style.
Okay.
And so it controls your play style more than almost any other mechanic. Because you have to be aware of what's going on with your buffs and with your striking first, and you're lining everything up for a certain turn or a certain lineup, and whether you're reversing the tides or not, it doesn't matter. And
you're still playing to that sequence, whatever
you're playing to that sequence, and I don't know. To me, of the releases, this is of all of the releases this year, this is the most jankiest of them to me.
Okay. Are you giving it the janky rating, or is it a thanky?
It's janky.
Wow. Okay, what would have changed the game for you? You understand what I mean? If that's the case, where did they miss? What's the miss in your mind?
These shouldn't have been elves.
Okay. What would you have preferred to see? I'm trying to get you going here, man. Give me the meat on the bone, Tom.
Give us something weirder. Let them be fishmen.
Sure.
Okay? Had they been fishmen, I'd have been okay. But because they were elves and the build-up for elves has been so strong, I was completely disappointed with their pitch. Does that make sense? So I think about I recognize that we got daughters first as kind of our toe back into new elves, just like we got Fire Slayers first before we got KO. But this was disjunctive enough with everything that's come before that KO, I could see I have models that I could see the development thread, there was really no development thread for Idoneth previously, and they weren't even like linked in any way with the Scourge Privateers.
Yeah, which seemed a weird choice. Like, we all felt like that was going to be the case. Like, the Scourge was going to be in. We saw this Iron Jaws writing on the wall, right, that we were going to take the Yard Boys and build them out. In this case, it would have been the Corsairs or the Charybdis or something like that, right?
Right.
It felt like a natural alignment.
And then it just didn't happen. And then in all the battalions, there was nothing like tying them to Scourge, which would have been like low-hanging fruit.
Sure.
Like, I just... Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah,
like,
overall...
So if you're going to go elves, lean into what we have. If you're not going to go elves...
Then be fishmen.
Then be fishmen. And let's be okay with that. And I would have been okay with that.
Sure. I don't know, man. The release is interesting to me because, like, I think for me it's still going to be a thanky, but it is the razorest thin one of the year. Okay, like, this is the 50.1%. I think Maggotkin falls down. By the way, to return to that other one, I joked about 51%, but I think Maggotkin was actually quite a good release in my estimation.
Yeah.
This one's right on the line for me. I'm still going to give it a thanky, but I understand your rating, right? Because, like, I'm 0.02 away or whatever, you know, from, like, being on the other side of this. When I look at it, I like the eels. I like the sea creatures.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the elves, I generally, other than, like, what's his name? The boss guy, Volturnus. Like, I do like the Lord. He looked really good. I thought that the Eidolon was amazing.
Yep.
And I think they more or less live up to how I would want them to play. That is to say, like, the Eidolon, you know, a couple of them might be a little overcosted, but they're fine. Whether you're talking about Volturnus or the General, both do pretty well, right? They generally, these things show up in lists. The General, generic Volturnus, more so than Eidolons anymore. But, like, the eels being potentially undercosted slightly, not sure that matters. I'm not sure that they are. I'm not sure that it's not just, like, the eels plus the Soul Scryer and his ability to just, like, sort of make these 9-inch charges, you know,
inconsequential.
Inconsequential, yeah. I don't mind the turn structure thing at all. I actually love the turn structure thing, to be honest. Now, I understand why that wouldn't appeal to your personality. Okay. And I don't think it appeals to mine either, like, as I would like to play. But I think it's incredibly useful to have it like that because it does let you unpack very powerful mechanics in a way that's predictable. Like, it's an interesting cost to put on a benefit, right?
Yep.
Giving an entire army always strikes first would just break the game sideways unless those troops are worthless, right?
Yep.
But when you have that under this tight control of, like, it either happens in turn 2 or 3 or whatever, right? Depending on how you run the tides. It actually is a really unique, clever cost to balance something out, right?
Sure.
In that it's a predictable thing. It's not a surprise that the person can just pull anywhere, right? It's not a mobile thing. One of the strengths of Daughters, certainly that we've talked about, is that their buffs are completely mobile. They can happen anytime, anywhere, on anything. Yeah.
Like, now you're dealing with a 30 block of witches. Okay, now you're dealing with a fully buffed Marathi.
Right. And then resources have all just shifted completely over with no cost. Right?
Right.
She gets Sippy Cup, she gets Prayed, she gets Mind Razored, and boom, in she goes, right?
And she deletes something. Yeah.
And she deletes something. And last turn, that all happened to 30 witches or whatever.
Right.
The Idoneth aren't like that, right? Now, they have an interesting prayer mechanic. I think that's kind of a fun thing they were playing around with their priests. The biggest sadness to me is that their coolest models, exempting the General on Seahorse, that I would rank in there.
Sure.
Are, in general, somewhat underwhelming.
Right.
I mentioned Lotan earlier.
Yep.
Like, Lotan is one of the coolest models they made in just forever. He's in the top. Like, I would put him in, like, the top 50 models they've ever made, which sounds like a big list, but that's really not. I mean, they've made thousands upon thousands of models, right, over the history of the game. And yet I would put him up there because he's just so cool.
It's so characterful.
Yes. And yet he is just, like, the most worthless thing, to the point where, like, even as just the most fluffy narrative
that
player,
has to be like a late design thing.
It's so weird because you look at his scroll and I don't even know what he's supposed to do. I would understand if it was a problem of like points or his rules were weird in how they worked or were hard to access or use. It's just like I don't even know how you could use him, right? If he was just on like the low side of bad, cool. I think you'd see him, right? But he's just like at the he's on the I don't know what this guy is for side of bad.
Right.
He's such a miss. And that's just a shame. The turtle, I think, could be fixed with like points. Right?
Yeah. If he's costed aggressively, we'd be fine.
Right. And I would love to see more turtles on the table because I think turtles are sweet and they're just a gorgeous model.
Turtle power, baby.
Like, turtle power. TURTLE power. So, you know, like all in all, like I said, it was the release that was the closest to me, but I give them credit for being brave and exploring some interesting new territory. I'm not sure if I think I agree with your split. I would have either liked to see them be just fully fish people crazy, alien, or have them have brought in like the Scourge Privateers and like the Mistweaver Say and whatever, right?
Yeah. And like I think we would have been fine. Man, I think we would have been fine.
Because those Corsairs are still popping models, dude.
I would have loved to have painted a block of 30 of them.
Any excuse to get those Corsairs on the table, right? They're just so sweet.
I painted a test model for my army of the Corsairs with like a modeled cloak, and I love him. I love him.
Yeah.
I wish that I could do an army, but I'm just not going to.
I mean, the Charybdis ain't too bad either. That's, you know, great monster. So, you know.
Yeah.
It's
disappointing.
There was some strongly missed opportunities. So like I said, I'm at 50.1, thank you, but I get your janky. I understand.
Like to be clear, this is going to be my only janky for the year. Like
fair enough.
I really think that I think that GW knocked it out of the park this year.
Sure.
As I said.
Sure. Yes. As we commented, you know, sort of tangentially, I do believe this was the best year we've seen since AOS launched. 100%. Yeah. All right. So we move on past the Deepkin.
Yep.
Let's separate out some things here because in rapid succession.
Yep.
We're going to have AOS 2, Malign Sorcery, the General's Handbook, the Sacrosanct, and the Night Haunt. Bang, 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 bang.
And we didn't even do Malign Portents, by the way.
Oh, sure. You mean like the Heralds or whatever?
Yeah.
Sure.
Like none of that, like the Heralds and then like the spell system and the cards and like there was a thing.
You know what? There's my janky for the year.
Really? Okay.
Yep. I love the models, and they didn't go as far integrating them in as I wanted to see them do.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like there was a couple different hits where we pushed them in. I wish those models were more uniquely and interestingly integrated into the narrative of your army. And just sadly, they often aren't. And a lot of there's a horde of different factors for that. I love 3 of the 4 heralds they did.
Sure.
The War Queen is another one of my favorite models ever. I have had no reason to use her whatsoever. Maybe that'll change in the first months of next year.
Yep.
But Jeezle Pete's, man, that's a year out from me getting that model. Right? I have no choice but to evaluate it within the span of the current year.
Right.
And I've got to call it janky. Like they ended up nerfing, like, let me get on the line. Lord Ordinator, great kit, had no use for him except in a mixed order army, which I loved. And then they took away my favorite ability he had.
Yeah.
Which was to fire war machines twice.
Yeah.
Wiped that right off the table. Okay, cool.
Like I went from like actually fielding him to never using him.
Right. The Goblin has one of the coolest destruction abilities possible, yet he's very difficult to use and you pay so much because if he's your general, he's your general. And he's like a little weedy goblin, right? He's probably the best of the bunch, by the way.
Yeah.
I think the Goblin holds the title.
You're saying like the most generically useful?
Yeah. Because like Nathan from Honest Wargamer is running like a 5 fungoid cave shaman army.
I know. It's so
that
fantastic.
He uses to like drink their potion and spam out endless spells. Like that guy has the most gas in the engine. Right. And even he's still difficult to really fit in. Now, maybe once Moon Clan comes in, he'll be a lot better. Could totally happen.
Or not. Or they nerf him just like they nerfed
sure.
The Ordinator.
Yeah. Could happen too. And I don't know, but either way, I can't evaluate based on what might, could, should be, right? I can just evaluate based on how I've seen him thus far. War Queen, one of the most gorgeous, useless models they've ever made.
Sure.
Again, could that change? Sure. And Ghosty Boy just ended up getting replaced by better Ghosty Boys. Right? Later in the year. Like, he got superseded by better Ghosty Boys.
Like, but even more so than that, like, the more outrageous change to him was the fact that his ability, which is his big selling point, which was him giving +1 to hit and allowing mortals to trigger on 5-ups instead of 4-ups, or 5-ups instead of 6-ups. The big kind of offensive thing there is that was taken away. Because, like, even though he can get +1 to hit, what the synergy he was actually bringing to the army was written out of their rules in the new book.
Right. Because he wasn't triggering mortals easier.
Right. So it's just +1 to hit, which is not, +1 to hit's not bad, but it's just not, it's not what it was.
Right. Yep. So yeah, I'm calling Malign Portents Herald's janky. There you go. Oh. And like, that's my janky.
Like, I hear ya. I liked him. Like, I liked what it was. I liked the rules. I liked the spell cards. I liked what it brought. I understand your janky events, but I liked it.
I want to see them do another event like that, and I want to see it be better integrated into the army plans for the year, into the release structure, and into how I can actually experience it and put it on the table.
It was fairly integrated. Like, it at least mapped out where we were going.
Okay. Here I am. It's been 11 months. I'm still waiting on 2 of them. Now, again, we know one's coming for sure, but that's a heck of a long time for me to wait for that to pay off.
Sure.
Like, that'd be like opening a movie with a Chekhov's gun and it paying off in like the last 2 minutes of the movie. Like, it's fine, I guess, but boy, are you really making me wait for it,
Sure.
So, just saying.
That's fair. Yep.
In fact, that's probably not long enough. Opening movie 1 with something and then paying it off at the end of the 3rd movie.
Sure.
At any rate. Okay, back to this. So, the AOS 2 sweep of stuff. Yep. Let's break this out. Let's start with AOS 2 itself. We'll take these individually. Okay? All in all, we got some rules refreshes, right? We got some updates to some things, like in some finer points of the game. But all in all, it didn't like cataclysmically shift rules, but it did very much impact play experience. They sort of learned that you can change small things, and if it's a big enough lever, it can move the world, right? I love the command point change, although like we still had a little work to do with stacking.
Yeah, I think I liked it. Like, I don't think it was bad. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't know that it was like, I don't know. I mixed on command points, I think, ultimately. It actually made the game a lot harder to teach.
Oh, sure.
Like, my kids, I was in the process of teaching them AOS when AOS 2 launched. And what was so fascinating was, like, I could teach, like, okay, you have this ability that you get to use once per game.
Right.
Okay. And so, like, they just knew to trigger that in that turn, like that or Battle Shock Immunity. And then suddenly now, like, there's a new decision point that is like multifaceted, and it's a currency, and it has like 4 different things that can trigger, and like it just like it actually ratcheted up the difficulty for young players pretty significantly. That I don't know that we realize that, which isn't a problem, but it is. And I saw that in teaching my 8-year-olds.
Sure. No, that's fair, because it went from a light switch to a dial.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a lot more nuance to it.
No. To like an entire switchboard of dials.
Sure, fair enough. Yeah.
Because you have like basically not only everything that's on the War Scrolls, but also all of the like independent usages that all now have different ranges based on if it's your general or not the general.
Right.
So like suddenly like every hero has 3 different notches of like the 2 dials and then potential command.
Let me ask you this question, Tom.
Yeah.
Have you intended to use one of the, like, let's call it generic command abilities and then realize that you were just out of range when you wanted to do it because you had forgotten the exact range of the hero thing? Has this happened to you in a game?
It has.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened to me too, right? Like where I tend to be a fairly like planned, like thoughtful player in these things. I'm used to like managing ranges. A year of Iron Jaws will do that to you. Like you will be really aware of, as in my list right up, I talk about how you need to think of playing Iron Jaws like you're playing the solar system, where like your mega boss on Maw Crusher is the sun, and everybody else has to orbit around him in this 15-inch orbit that they can't leave, right? And so I'm very used to managing these sort of, and then the ranges within it. And many times I've been called out because I've realized, or caught out because I meant to go use this, and then I realized, oh crap, that's not the general. I was accidentally like 7 inches. I didn't get to 6, right? And so now I can't make that guy run or something, right? Oops. So, it's certainly interesting in its complexity. That being said,
I don't hate it. It's just I recognize that for young players, it's going to be a challenge.
Sure. Overall, I think it was a net positive, but I agree with you. Like when you add complexity like that, right? You have to accept that there is a little bad that gets introduced with the good. No choice in game design is free, and I think that really proves it, right? Overall, I would say still a positive thing. I love the command point thing. I think it's fun. I like being able to use my other heroes, right? For them to suddenly have a use. Most of the stacking things have been hammered down at this point. The people who can still stack, it's really fun to stack. Like that is to say, big wawing is maybe the funnest thing ever.
I hate that some armies get punished with this. Like it's not a problem like that. There's like, okay, I accept that there are levers now that they can pull, but like I hate that my Daughters of Khaine, like I only get a command ability. Like Daughters of Khaine seems to be the worst rollout of this.
Sure. Like it's again, yes, we understand everybody. We know immediately everybody just got angry because Daughters are like so good right now and clearly don't need this stuff. But that being said, like they do have the worst implementation of the command point thing because everybody has to be your general. If you want to use the snakes, you've got to have a snake boss who has no command abilities. Like Marathi
you never get an actual command ability if you run a snake general to get snakes.
And so it's just all over. Like it's just rough. Now, I get it. I completely get it. You're complaining about the placement of. You're complaining that like there's you're complaining that like there is a dirty mirror on the second floor of a luxurious mansion, right? Like I'm trying to think of the comparison here. Because, the rest of the stuff is all really, really good. As I've stated before.
Until the house burns down. And then what happens is you have a burned down house with a dirty mirror. Because even the mirrors don't work at that point. That's what happened to KO.
I understand that.
KO has a person that has a command ability. And no one else in the entire army. It's just,
As I have said earlier in this show, I would like to see Daughters adjusted in a couple, good, potent ways. Not getting smacked with a Nerf bat, but one of the things I would love to see them actually ratcheted up is a better alignment of their command abilities and your ability to do that and have those conditional battle lines and stuff like that. That's all. Like, again, it's a small thing, but overall, AOS 2 is a super thanky for me. Like I can't. It's hard for me to picture a more smooth transition. This was not a hard transition into the new game, right? You think of like edition changes are traditionally one of the most dangerous points in a game for your customer base, for your player base, and that didn't happen here. It just
not like that. Like so, I'm friends. Like I follow Mike Merles on Twitter, and it was fascinating to watch Merle's response to the AOS rollout. So Mike Merles, who is heading up D&D right now for Wizards of the Coast, he is also plays Warhammer AOS, and it's been fun to watch him process as an industry insider how AOS rolled out And like he basically said that like any new D&D rollout, like he looks to what happened with AOS as a model for good rollouts.
Sure. Yeah, no, it was great. It's hard for me to picture how it could have been smoother, to be completely honest, right?
Sure.
So wonderful job all in all. I was thrilled with everything we do, and I feel like right now we're in a super strong point in the game, and a lot of that is because of AOS too. It brought up some new armies. It made interesting things competitive. It's created a pretty flourishing scene where a lot of different armies can play and have fun at lots of different levels, depending on how you define competitive, right?
Yep.
So it's a big list, no matter how you define it. So that's great.
Definitely.
Okay. GHB 2018 next up in this thing. Okay.
Yep.
Right out of the gate, strong thanky for me. That's a thanky.
Yeah.
The points were all the most solid they've been. There are still some adjustments that can be made, but for doing that at the same time as an edition change and to have them come out overall really good. Again, does that mean they're perfect? No. Does that mean nothing should be changed? No. Are there points that need to go up or down? Yes. Are there many points off by like 60 or 80 or 100?
No.
I would argue no.
Yeah, like they did a really good job of balancing it this year, and just shout out to the playtesters who put all that time in to do that. It shows. It shows.
Let me take a moment here. Yes. Yes, Skibag, I do read the chat. I've been reading. Thank you. Glad you're enjoying the videos. And don't like as to donations. No, I don't have it. We have no donation thing. We do this all for love of the game, my friend. But I very much appreciate the I very much appreciate the question. If you want to do something nice, recommend the show to somebody else. Share it with somebody. That's the nicest thing you can ever do, and that's always really appreciated. So, at any rate, thank you very much. That is very much appreciated. Okay, so yeah, I mean to nail the points so accurately, I feel like most of the points changes I would recommend would be like 20 up, 20 down.
Yeah.
You know, there's
a couple that are off. I think like significantly. I think
sure the couple big ones we mentioned, like some of the KO stuff, the turtle, right?
Yep.
But again, for the most part, pretty on point. We can roll in the Forge World updates into this. Actually, let's leave them separate. Let's leave them separate. I want to talk about that separately in a moment because it's happened at the same time.
Yep.
But GHB, new scenarios, right? So now we've officially got all 18 scenarios in the mix between the core book and this book, and I love it. I was a huge advocate in 2017 that we should still be keeping all 12 scenarios on the table, and a lot of people were just like, no, it's the new 6. This is the 6. This is the 6 we use, and I'm like, thumbs down to that, right?
Yep.
I am so glad that now it's like official. We've got 18 in the mix. I love having that variance because there are nuanced differences to a lot of these. If you think about the difference between like 3 places of power, duality of death, and the arcane 3 places of arcane power or whatever, they play very differently, despite the fact they're all these sort of like hero takes a point scenarios. It doesn't take much to change the way a scenario plays. Meanwhile, we've got some really great new sort of independent scenarios. I would rate Relocation Orb and stuff like that really high. I find it to be fun and entertaining, but it gives to me, the advantage of having those like 18 scenarios is that like as a TO, you have a lot more, I don't know, what I'll say is like freedom to set the way you want your tournament to be. Right? You're on mute, by the way.
Yeah, I know I am. Okay. What I would say is that I think that what they opened up is the ability to really gate some events, and I don't mean gate in a bad way, but I mean like force people to design diverse lists, especially when those scenario lists aren't public going into the event, because what it forces is that like you need to think about having a hero that can hold a point, and a monster, and a and wizards, and you need all of those things now if all of the scenarios are on the table. You need hordes, so you need a
forces much more diversity in army list. Yes. And here's an interesting thing. So like very quickly here, like so Scott, who's the TO for LVO, just made a comment in the chat that he doesn't like the arcane one, one of these particular ones he doesn't like. And what I like about, and that's fine. Cool. I have no problem with that. Like, because no part of me as a player says, as a TO, you have to include these things. And what I love is now, if Scott doesn't like 1, 2, and 3, he's got 15 to choose from still, right? So he has an incredible empowerment to still craft the 5 or 6 games, LVO 6 or whatever. So he has the distinction to still create the tournament he wants,
and there can still
without
be,
being hemmed in.
There can still be bottleneck scenarios, and there can still be all of those things pretty easily.
Sure. And so one of the comments was like, not all armies have the potential to do all those things.
I'm aware. I'm aware.
There's some that like, I think that it's striated. I'm not going to disagree with that, but I would call it fewer are on the downside of that than are on the other side. That's all.
Yeah, all I'll say is like, I'm as playing as a recovering dwarf player.
Sure.
Like,
there's the example. Like, that's always going to be the one that gets the short end of the stick, especially when it comes to the new, like the 2 arcane ones, right?
Yeah, like the best was like the KO like article when they're like, for the new edition, what you can do is add a Stormcast wizard. Like, that was their tip for like how to utilize and play in the new edition.
Yeah.
And it's like we feel it. We do.
That being said, what I think you've seen a lot less of is, it's not that they don't happen, but you're not seeing like crazy hard skews as often. Like, what people tend to bring, the lists that tend to do well are these like sort of diverse mix of like heroes and different horde. You need to be able to handle hordes and mortal wounds. You need to be able to move, and like, people are generally building their list to be able to handle a lot of different things. They're playing armies that often look like we would want armies to look, and that's because they need to perform in a lot of different scenarios. I'm not saying that's every time. I'm saying that's quite often.
I love it.
I think that's good.
Yeah. Yep. And moving away from skew lists, I think, is a good thing.
Yeah. So, all in all, I'm going to call GHB like a huge thank you to me. Like, it was a big one. Now,
I love the new additions for the allegiance stuff. In the back.
Sure, yeah.
I wish there could have been more. Like,
I agree. Only downside, more. Give us more of those allegiance. How is there not a Gutbusters one in there? Why? 2 pages.
Yeah, like, come on, give us 20 more pages. Give us 10 more allegiances. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yep. No, I agree. Like, I that was not a perfect book, but GHB 19 was up there. Like, I'd give it a, like, if we're talking out of 10, it's like a solid 8.5, 9. That's, it was really high. That doesn't mean perfect. There's still room for growth. And I agree. We could have seen more Allegiance stuff in there. Yep. Okay, we'll talk about realms, by the way, when we talk about Malign sorcery. So that's I've just left that off because so much of the realm stuff is packed into Malign sorcery. I know that some of the base realm stuff is in the core book and all this, and that'll lead to a janky thing later. We'll get there. We'll get there. Don't worry. Okay.
We'll get there. Yep.
Okay. Forge World. We got the Forge World reset at the same time. I'm not going to dive deep into this, except to say a lot of the War Scroll rewrites were good. They did some good work. Could have been better. I'm giving the Forge World scrolls. I'm still giving that rewrite a janky.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
They didn't, because too many of those scrolls. Go back to our show. Yeah. How many of those did we actually like? And the problem is they're still too different. Integrate them in some way. Yes. And they've done this with a few of them. The ones that
your
work,
designers out from the main rules writing.
Yeah, the ones that work in the Forge World stuff are the ones that you can actually put in an army without going against everything else you want to do. Right?
Because right now, basically, you're forced to do generic order or generic armies for a lot of the stuff.
For a lot of it. Not all, but a lot.
Not all. Yeah.
The Mammoth is really good because he was pointed aggressively and because he fits into various chaos factions.
Marked armies now.
Yeah. The Exalted Demons are all like, most of them aren't great. They kind of nerfed them down. I would still argue like the Exalted Keeper is pretty good for now. We'll see what happens with the KOS in January. But I would argue like the Exalted Bloodthirster is still pretty decent. Their points need adjustment. They weren't a total waste. But a lot of that stuff is just like you're instantly in a Grand Alliance. You have to give up everything else you wanted to do with your army because you want them. Right now, there's some exceptions. Things like the Dreadsaurian, things like the Mammoth, things like the what else is in there? Like the Greater Demons. There's another. Oh, the Idol, the Idol, and the yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But those are definitely exceptions. Like those are not the rule.
No, like the Troll Hag's another good example, right? Because she's a Troggoth, so she can ally in. so like it's not that that just more of that needs that touch where like we have ways to connect those monsters in and actually like I would love to buy them, man. I want to give you your money, but I already built an army around a purpose. Like I built an Iron Jaws army or a Daughter's army or whatever because I wanted to play that thing.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like I bought in. You wrote a book. I bought the book. I want to use the book. If you want me to buy this other thing, I'm not going to not use the book so I can take a 250 point monster.
The exception to this being Legion of Asgore. Legion of Asgore is tight. It's it's well designed. The scrolls fit together. I have some quibbles for the ways that the rules could have been written better, or like they could have been a more well-rounded force. The allies could have been anyways. But overall, I like it. I like everything that they did with that one. So like for me,
Legion, thanky. Rest of Forge World stuff, janky. That's my call.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go. It could have they had a chance when they were rewriting War Scrolls. Right? That happened as part of that. To go in and make some tighter connections, to pull these in. So I don't have to go like, well, I'd really like to use this mirror worm.
Sure.
Right? But the second I touch him, I've got to take that book I've got and just throw it in the trash.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So again, that's just okay. All right. Malign sorcery. Okay. So much to unpack here. Realms, all the rest of the realm rules. Let's call it the full realm rules, okay? Or whatever. We'll count the realm. I understand the realm rules themselves, basic or in the core, blah, 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 whatever. The rest of the realm rules, the realm artifacts.
You're not going to like any of this, are you?
The endless spells. Okay. What's your? I'll hush my mouth for a moment. What's your vote on this one?
You're not going to like it. I can already tell. Okay. Like, and it's funny. Like, I like it. I'm okay with there being some endless spells, but endless spells not ruling the roost. Does that make sense? Like, you see lists with endless spells. You see some Tzeentch stuff with like 200 points of endless spells. You see some of that here and there.
I mean, if we're counting the endless spells that get used out there in most tournament lists, then the Pusk Whales are absolutely viable. Because I'm just saying, like, as a percentage of total.
No. Oh no! You show me how many tournament lists that have been run in the last year or last 8 months, 9 months.
Well, we'll be able to do that tomorrow, Tom, but we can't do that today. My point is, most people jettison the endless spells, exempting a few things. But anyways, go ahead.
And so what I would say is that I liked what they offered. I think they could have done it better, but it was still a hit for me. It was
okay. Gotcha. Okay. Here's my take. Here's my hot takes. Here's my hot take. It's a 50.1. I'll give it a thank you because I like the idea of what it introduced. I love the realm artifacts because they helped so many smaller factions actually make interesting choices.
Yep.
Okay. And I liked the idea of endless spells because I think it's the coolest thing in the world. Okay. Yep. Like I love these big models and these spells ripping around the board.
Yep.
However, it was implementation wise, we could have done a lot better. Let's talk about a janky component of this. We're going to break off. I'm going to do a sub janky. Here's my sub janky. The fact that this stuff is so scattered over these 3 books. And I'm not the first person to talk about this. 100 people have talked about this.
Right.
I said this when I was like, when we knew that was coming, I think it was at NashCon or something before it came out. And I said, the problem is going to be that this stuff is spread out. Right. And sure enough, it was. And so that was just a problem. Like, it's janky that it's so spread out, disorganized, that the realm rules are split up. I'm not sure I love the way realm spells work. I think they're the biggest miss for me because, like, I wouldn't want you to be able to choose them. A lot of people have called for that. Please, for the love of God, no.
Yeah.
Okay?
You don't want to deal with fire arrows every game.
You all think, like, to anybody who thinks you want to be able to choose realm spells, you're wrong. That's going to be terrible.
You don't want 3 damage witch elves because that's what you would have.
Every time. Yeah, all it would lead to is like the worst skew choices in the world would dominate, right? And if there was one spell that was even remotely good, it would just become the auto-include in every list. because you're just handing everybody too much power. So the way the realm spells are packed into the realm that is on the table, I'm okay with. The thing I'm not sure about is obviously we need to correct some spells, and we need to there's some that are just too potent. And there's some we need to probably adjust casting numbers on. The real challenge is I'm not sure I want to be able to suddenly think my way through 7 spells 5 different times in a tournament.
Adding complexity to the actual decisions on the table.
Yeah. But at any rate, if I went to a tournament and they said we're using the realms, but we're not using the extra spells that are in Malign Sorcery, right? So we're gonna have realm rules and the realm commands and the extra realm spell that's there, and we're gonna use realm artifacts. We're not gonna use those extra realm spells. I'd be like, great. No skin off my nose. I'm happy. Yep. But that's not what I think everywhere. I think everybody is. A lot of people like them, and that's cool too.
A lot of Legions and Nagash players would have a chip on their shoulder.
Sure. It undoubtedly empowers your bonkers spellcasters, right? Handing Nagash and Archon or Marathi or whatever, an additional 7 spells that they get to play with is undoubtedly potent, right? Yeah. So whatever.
Dwarf on the whole, it's okay.
Yeah, it's really it reinforces armies that are already significantly powerful in the meta with extra power. It's winners win more and losers kind of struggle or ally or whatever, and still will get shut out by Nagash right when he shows up. Yeah. So it's you show up with a great hitter, and you got somebody who's just really good at getting a hold of the ball, and then Nagash, who is like Nolan Ryan, shows up, and it's just it's a shutout every time. That's what he's pitching shutouts. So there you go. You can be the best hitter in the world if he's on a no-hitter streak, you're done for. I don't care how good you can get. You're just not getting a hold of the ball. So my ultimate argument is it is a thanky. There are sub-janky components within it, but overall,
I just don't know how they missed the product opportunity of selling a spell cards with all of the realm stuff on it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. How do we not have that, right? That seems like a supplement that should have been made. I would buy it. But here's why it still falls on thanky is because it was still good. It added a lot. It was great ideas. And I feel like it's a type of thing that will get stronger. I know I said earlier I can't count what's in the future, but here we have a solid foundation. That's my point.
Yeah. Right? I love the subsystem character of it. But we can say no.
You can just set it to the side, right? And be like, we're not doing this. Right. Okay. Cool. All right. Rob Johnson said that Nagash is like a Warner Brothers cartoon where the pitch is so fast it burns a hole in the bat, like the old Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Right. Yeah.
Which I completely agree with. Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's that.
Shit out of here.
Now, let's move to Sacrosanct and our Ghosty Boys, our 2 army releases that came with this. Okay. What are your feelings on these guys? What are they getting?
Oh God, I love it so much.
Yeah.
I bought both of them. I didn't touch eels. I barely touched Nurgle. I have 2 full armies of Sacrosanct. I have them all based over there and ready to be primed. An entire 2K Sacrosanct list. I love all of it fixed my critique of it fixed my critique of Stormcast for painting. It gave them some cloth. It gave them some different things, additional things to work with. It gave me some neat monster-y people. They gave me wizards and gave me some self buffs that you can't prevent, and with a little sprinkling of overpoweredness and undercostedness over top. The Stormcast was just all kinds of good. I love everything that happened there. Night Haunt, they're a hidden gem for me. I'm looking forward to doing my Night Haunt force. I'm budgeting now and trying to figure out what that's going to take to do that. But
agreed. All in all, these were total thanky releases. I think I've heard many people say Sacrosanct was Stormcast done right finally. I don't know that I disagree with that. I think they're gorgeous. Some of the most characterful sculpts we've gotten. If they would have been the initial release, I think people would have come around differently. We said that during a previous show. I stand behind it.
Yeah.
There's a couple points adjustments I might want to see made. You mentioned there's a little bit of, but they're not like crazy. It's not crazy. It's not.
No, nothing's broken.
Nothing's broken.
Nothing is broken.
There's some slightly bent things, but there's nothing broken.
Sure. I don't disagree with that. There
is absolutely gorgeous models on both sides of that release. The only real problem with Nighthaunt is they kind of get swept into the Legions and Nagash thing when really I wish they were stronger on their own, but that's not their fault, right? When you look at the release as a thing, like when you look at Nighthaunt as Nighthaunt, it's exactly what I'd want an army to look like and be and act, right? When I look at their rules, honestly, I take the Legions out of the picture.
Honestly, all they would have had to have done is not include the paragraph in the starter box.
Sure.
So in the starter box, I don't know if you guys realize this or not, in the starter box is a paragraph that says, basically, these units in this starter box can be included in the Legions of Nagash list. Nowhere else in any other resource does it say that. And that's why you have Grimgrass Reapers and Legions of Nagash.
Sure. And that's been your chief offender, by the way, is the Grimghast showing up under Big Papa.
Legions and getting all the buffs and everything. The reality is that, like, if you had just said, like, Nighthaunt remains allies in the way that they've always remained allies,
or Grimghast had a slight point adjustment, or Grimghast couldn't be brought in, or whatever, because it's a listed unit, like, right, of what you can bring in.
Right.
The point is that, like,
and
there's
you can't even bring in all of Nighthaunt, to be clear.
Correct, that's what I mean. Yeah. So, and that's my point. It's just slight. I'm not going to hold that against Nighthaunt. Those are just little slight tweaks that could be done, right?
It's again, that's a starter box rule booklet thing. Like, sure. So like it is the easiest fix in the world.
Right. Sure. So like all in all, I'm still going to call Nighthaunt, like, it's a solid A+. It's a huge thank you. They were gorgeous models. I loved everything from the characters to the individual ghosts. I didn't think they could make a ghost range look that interesting. Right?
Of sheet ghosts, yes.
Indeed. Of just people wearing bed sheets, the army, and yet they look really great. And as an army, again, let's forget about the Legions thing for a moment. Let's talk about just Nighthaunt as Nighthaunt, right?
Yeah.
Again, they hit exactly the note I think they should hit. I think they're elegantly designed. They're interesting. They're explosive. I think they have cool abilities that speak to what they are. Like, I like everything about them.
Yep.
And I think the Legions argument is a separate argument and should be taken out of the general discussion. So there you go.
Yep. No, I agree.
All right. So,
as an aside, I want to do a shout out. I mentioned this beginning, like off air to Vince. One thing that like passed under the radar with this launch was the fact that we had a redesign of the War Scroll cards.
Oh yeah, sure. Actually, a minor change that was so good. We shouldn't pass that by.
Yeah.
Big thank you.
Yeah, like, man, those War Scroll cards. I just wish there was that range for the entire, like, miniature range.
Yeah.
Like, I wish we had that. Just because it's, the new format is just magical. Like, it's the right size. It's the right amount of information. It's, like, it's visual. Like, I love it. So, thank you, GW.
Well, it's funny because it's completely a user experience thing, right? Like, it's a UX design element.
Yep.
And small UX elements like that can have huge impacts on how people perceive everything, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is one of those things. So, there you
those cards made me want to play Stormcast.
Yeah, sure. No, I get it. All right. So then we round out our thank you or janky segment as we get to, we'll talk a little bit about what's coming just very quickly up next, but just for a minute or two, because we're going to do that in a future show. But Beast of Chaos. So Legions, the second coming, right? Where we learned this is a thing we can do now. It wasn't a one-off, right? We get a second example of the Legions thing. We bring the Beast of Chaos back under one banner in a really interesting way. Again, to me, that was such a big thank you. It was absolute win from top to bottom. Cool terrain pieces. Not much in the way of kits. Endless spells. Got the Herdstone. Pretty simple. But the line still looked good. I don't think it needed much. Bringing everything back together. Many different solid ways to build that army now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Bringing Tzeentch into the fold. That long-awaited thing you and I had asked for so many times of having the Zangor. be able to like join in with the normal beastmen. The fact that we can do that now, getting the Chaos God marked battalions, right? So we can do our marked beastmen again. Like hit after hit after hit, man. And you watching like the Beasts of Chaos WhatsApp chat, and it's just people talking about all different kinds of lists they're working on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And very diverse lists.
Right. Yes. It is one of the most like diverse ways that we've seen to play because of the way it brings its things together, the way the battalions are so impactful, right, into shaping the army, which I would love to see more of. Like you mentioned earlier, like not having in the Idoneth, not having like the Scourge Privateer dip in, right? I really want to see them return to having some interesting battalions that let you play toward your army but tilted in some way, right.
Like
Sylvaneth do this.
I would have loved a dwarf one like this that would have let me dip into the other dwarf factions, like to do KO, for example, but to bring in Fire Slayers or Dispossessed into like a certain Skyport or something.
Yep. It's like they have ended so far on a very strong note. I think Beasts is an incredible herald of like what's coming. It was so successful.
Yes. What they could do in the future.
Yeah. We've over this year, we've seen them explore lots of different concepts of what an army battle tome means, right? Some being very tight, wholly designed, self-contained concepts like ID and Daughters. Some being much more broad. And I hope they keep playing with that accordion, to be honest.
Yes.
I don't want a one-size-fits-all thing. Keep doing both as that army would demand. I want to see I want to see some tight forces that are like really, really like clear, focused concepts made real. And I want to see some banner stuff where they kind of bring stuff together. You know, you mentioned the dwarf thing. You know, one of the ways to fix KO could be a generic like Duerden thing, something like that, right?
Yeah, like that was one of my feedbacks for obviously they can't really do this for the General's Handbook, but when they asked about stuff for new General's Handbook, I said like throw in like a Dwarven Kingdoms allegiance that's like, you know, like Firestorm-esque, and then throw in like a battalion or two, and guess what? You suddenly have a super viable fix to KO.
Right. Yep. So yeah, there's lots of ways we can go forward with this. You know, obviously what's on the horizon, Moon Clan, Slaanesh, right? Maybe a Darko thing. We'll see how that looks. But I mean, you know, we have the Year of Destruction coming up. So there's a lot of there's a lot of good stuff on the horizon I'm very interested in and will be keen to see. This is going to sort of round out all four of the factions getting, you know, attention. So I'm excited both for next year and what's to come. And if next year is the Year of Destruction, like this year was the Year of Death, that's cool because that tells me we're still going to get some other interesting stuff going on too.
Right.
The fact that I already know there's at least one army in AOS and side story, one army in 40K that I'm interested in collecting tells me I'm going to have a very busy year. The fact that that's like my January, right, for the Slaanesh, and I don't even know what the rest of the year could hold, that they could blow me away with something else, like Daughters came out of nowhere and blew me away. I mean, like, it's so exciting to me. Right?
A reimagining of, or like a re-update of Iron Jaws or something, like,
or whatever. There's who knows? You know what I mean? Like, there's so many interesting ways they could go in the Mortal Realms we continue to push out that I can't wait to see where we go with it in 2019.
Fully agreed. Agreed.
Oh, Andrew's asking, did we get Slaanesh confirmed? I mean, yeah, Wrath and Rapture's coming in like 2 weeks or something. Like, they're not doing Wrath and Rapture and not doing Slaanesh. Like, they've done one of the demons every year. It's going to happen. So, like, again, do I know for sure there's a book? No and yes, because of course there is. It's just like Blight War with Nurgle, and you know,
yeah. We talked about this. Like,
so yes. And I'm guessing January. I don't know that for sure. Could as easily be early February or something. Who knows? Like Tzeentch was like late February, early March, and you know, whatever. So depends how big the 40K release is. Late January. Yeah. At any rate, there we go. So the final thing I want to say as we close out here, as we're talking about our thanky or janky segment, what I want to be thankful for. is everybody who has been with us. As I said, this is our 4th Thanksgiving spectacular. To all of you out there who watch every week, I want to give a really great and complete from the bottom of my heart thank you. It means so much to me. I don't know how much it means to Tom. He's cold-hearted. No, it means a lot to both of us that we can do this, that you continue to watch, and that we get to do this every week. It's incredibly fun. It's something I'm unbelievably passionate about. I love having this discussion. I love being able to spend time with all of you, to see the comments, to see the feedback. And I do not plan on stopping doing this anytime soon. If I, have my way, I'll be celebrating this Thanksgiving for many, many years to come. As my dog comes in. Hello, dog. But so big thank you to all of you. And I hope that we continue to have a great year as we go forward.
I just want to second that. And I just want to do I want to put a spotlight on our community, not just our viewers, but just the community in general. How I can't imagine a world where 4 years ago that we would be where we're at with AOS,
where the community is this positive, this vibrant, this collaborative. It's incredible. The tournament growth, the scene growth, the interactions, it's unbelievable.
I think about what Rob's premiering and just all of the stuff that's happening in the community. It's just stunning.
Yep.
So and you all are part of that, but it's bigger than just us. It's bigger than just our viewers. It's as a game community, it's pretty remarkable, is what I would say.
I agree. Yep. Somebody asked if we did a model of the year. Not yet. We'll do that at the end of the year. I've got to save that for when I see whatever Slaanesh stuff I get.
Oh, there's a news item that I forgot that I just remembered.
Okay. We end with a piece of news. Okay.
We do. It's related to this. GW has just re-announced the heroes, the Warhammer heroes event. And I think it's appropriate with us talking about the role of the community in this. There's a lot of folks that are our viewers, a lot of folks that never get airtime, a lot of folks that have never been on our show that are foundational to the reality that is our community now. And so my exhortation to us is to go and to support them and to promote them in the Warhammer Heroes event.
I agree. That person who's organizing your local tournaments in your game store, who's getting you out every week, who's doing the stuff, who's teaching new people, go and nominate those people as your Warhammer heroes. That could be, you or somebody else, whoever it is. That is people doing real work to grow this game, to grow this community, to keep it positive and flourishing. That is what Warhammer Heroes is all about. So good call, Tom. Absolutely good call.
Yeah. And so thank you all for participating in such a vibrant community and help, pay it forward.
There you go. So with that, we will come to an end. If you're in the U.S. or somewhere where Thanksgiving is celebrated, and to all our troops abroad, happy Thanksgiving. To everybody else, happy Wednesday night or Thursday morning or wherever you happen to be. And we thank you very much, as always. I love how it's gotten dark outside your window as we've done this show, by the way.
It has.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So, but to everybody, again, thank you very much. We always appreciate it. And as always, we'll see you next Wednesday.